Hello, everyone. I'm Lance Green, and welcome to Workspace. Born and raised in the wilds of Belton, Texas, a town with a population of 18,000, 20 square miles of city land seem like the world. 2 years ago, I moved to Manhattan, a city with a population of 1.6 million, weighing in at 33 square miles. Although the land is slightly larger than Belton, the thrill of fitting 1.6 million people within a highly prescribed atmosphere and environment fascinated me. I found that Belton, with its population evenly distributed, would have 962 people per square mile, whereas Manhattan, on the other hand, forces nearly 72,000 people each square mile. After moving to New York, I began working as a freelancer, taking on projects between classes and on the weekends. The act of identifying a place to get work done outside of the home and the office was difficult initially, and finding a place with the right conditions to get work done peacefully, productively, and without distractions was even harder. Research began with the exploration of these spaces through related literature, from the benefits and need for privacy, the design of privately owned public spaces, plazas, and parks, to the benefits of sensory stimulation upon the creative psyche. With The Architecture of Happiness by Alain de Botton, bridging the connection between self and place, I became immersed in the correlation between our quality of environment and its undeniable connection to our own misery or happiness. Another influential expert, Gaston Bachelard, author of The Poetics of Space, states that to sleep well, we do not need to sleep in a large room, and to work well, we do not have to work in a den. But to dream of a poem and then to write it, we need both. It is the creative psyche that benefits from rhythm analysis. Rhythm analysis, as mentioned by Bachelard, refers to the method of analyzing the rhythms of spaces and the effects of those rhythms on the inhabitants of those spaces. These rhythms come in the form of the human senses: sight, touch, sound, taste, and smell. A common thread was found throughout preliminary research, and the question became, where do we work best? Initial sketches were in the dozens, ranging from indoor and outdoor workspaces, designed for private offices and cooperative workspaces, the mobile office, and for the modern cubicle. And prototypes were made, such as the indoor-outdoor office space that exists on a rotating axis for open air circulation, or the independent desk with its vertically adjustable opaque horizon that allows for different levels of privacy between users and their surrounding spaces. All of these spaces, however, were found to exist in extreme cases of isolation and privacy, two qualities that, within New York City, are nearly impossible to come by. I quickly found that it was another kind of privacy I was searching for, or the private side of public architecture. Workspace had evolved into an exploration into the places that encourage us to be most at peace within ourselves and within the world around us. These are the places that we would escape to in order to produce fruitful and thoughtfully executed work, the places that help us to rebalance and make sense of a mess, that inspire us and provoke new thought. Our work has downsized drastically, and it's now entirely mobile, and this is now all we need. Open workspaces negatively affect the attention span, productivity, creative thinking, and satisfaction of those within the space. Uncontrollable interactions, higher levels of stress, and lower levels of concentration and motivation are results of this. In a report from Berkeley School of Law titled Monitoring Technology in the American Workplace, Laura Evans states that the problem of employee privacy and productivity becomes more significant as the boundary between formal and informal places of work blur. And freelancers, such as myself, suffer similarly. More than 34% of workers within the US are freelancers and independent workers. That's an upward of 53 million people. Often without a dedicated workspace, they have few choices in terms of working locations outside of the home or the office. Cooperative workspaces are also safe bets, but are often inconveniently located or too expensive for beginning freelancers such as myself. I spoke with Riley Triggs, the architect and designer, as well as a past professor of mine, who helped to shift my point of view in regards to public spaces, stating that a big space with a lot of people is a great place to be alone. Just look at Grand Central. There's a constant energy around, and it's not all being directed at you. He also spoke of interstitial spaces, and these were the interstitial spaces that I would be identifying, those empty spaces between public and private. Brian Boyer, founder of Makeshift Society, a co-working space in Brooklyn, claims that a huge reason for their success is due to the location of their space, being on ground level and with optimal natural lighting. There's inspiration and energy drawn from city life one step out the door, as compared to working 30 floors above ground. So I took my thesis on the go, working in Grand Central Station, St. Patrick's Cathedral, among other churches, parks, and public plazas. The design of the freelance chair originated in the mobility of the freelancer. The intent of this chair was to free them, transforming these gray spaces into makeshift workspaces. Laptops fit comfortably within this folding structure and are easily portable to newly discovered locations. Such explorations led to my first insight that it's not where we work, but how we adapt to the places that we work. Whether it's the structure and prescribed nature of the open space office, the comfort and careful curation of our own home, or our ability to adapt to makeshift public workspaces, Grayspace has explored these interstitial territories in search of an understanding of what makes us work better and why. And due to the hyperconnectivity and mobility of our work, we are now able to work all the time, and we're miserable because of this. I pushed forward with an understanding that workspaces could be better. I began to look to the human senses as a means of experiencing these gray spaces. For spaces are composed primarily of lighting, sound, scent, material textures, and objects. However, it was found that these could also be intense distractions. Mindsets were designed for use within workspaces that combine an array of occupants within a combined space. Workers are asked to choose a mindset based on their specific need, whether it's inspiration, speed, silence, or reflection. Playlists as well as white noise are scripted to avoid audible nearby distractions and ease of the creative mind. Since pods, I then explored smell. Studies have shown that smells that people like make them feel good, whereas smells that people dislike can make them feel bad. Because odors affect moods, I identified these specific pleasurable scents, such as lavender and Palo Santo's wood, that influence how we think and act. These, in turn, can produce positive moods that have been shown to influence our ability to be happy. Sense pods are small scent-capturing containers that feature perforated holes and self-locking lids to hold and transport scents for personal use throughout the day. Individuals who use sense pods daily are more apt to experiencing positive moods, as well as a decrease in mental fatigue and exhaustion. Spectrum is a lighting element designed to be the desktop therapist, harnessing the power of natural sunlight and allowing users to create their own unique sources of inspiration and happiness through processes of chromotherapy. Scientists have found that the introduction of fluorescent lighting in schools and universities since the mid-1900s has negatively impacted students' ability to remain focused and attentive. Colors, when introduced to lighting, have a variety of effects on the human body. Blue encourages focus and is energizing. The body responds with positive thoughts to the warmth of the color yellow, and certain hues of pink and green can be used to relieve anxiety and stresses. If a person were to desire increased performance and productivity, as well as calm and warming presence, they might choose for half of the color bars to be blue and the other half to be pink. As a further exploration into the effects of these senses upon the mind, sensation was a multimodal sensory deprivation experiment that was based on the study of the Ganzfeld effect, a form of perceptual deprivation caused by an exposure to an unstructured and uniform field of sensory stimulation. Within a prescribed atmosphere, visitors were asked to engage with the left portion of their brain within a state of mental flow. 25 Ganzfeld goggles were produced. Effects of such deprivation include the brain's ability to search for the missing visual context. In turn, multiple senses become amplified, such as our sense of touch, hearing, and smell. Sound therapy has been used in order to help people relax and to improve their overall health and well-being. Weightless is a song that has been proven by scientists to be the most relaxing song in existence and was played during the experience. Studies found Weightless was 11% more relaxing than any other song and can induce 65% reduction in overall anxiety. Participants were asked to create visual representations of their personal experiences using a drawing tool upon a 25 by 10 foot medium lit from multiple directions with red, blue, and yellow lighting. And within these color combinations, they were then asked to locate the most suitable field of light and illustrate their unique feeling of mental flow. This was a combination of blind contour drawing and sensory exploration. Up until this point, my research had existed in the now, but through means of speculation, I looked to the year 2025 to envision a future of work that is entirely stripped of the senses, a world where the virtual office has been widely adopted, and designers now create in an alternate and virtual reality. I position myself in the workplace of the year 2025, a space that exists between the home and the office, and a territory that involves both physical and digital goods. The design of Grayspace as a virtual platform questions a not too distant future of the workplace, where designers are almost entirely stripped of these senses. What stresses will we be adding to our daily routine through the use of gestural interfaces and rapid body movements, as popularized in the 2002 movie Minority Report? When the first computer mouse was introduced, no one knew the long-term effects of such constrictions and tightening of the hands would have on our bodies. Rheumatoid arthritis was a quick result of this design. I envision an unfortunate future where osteoarthritis has become another form of chronic inflammatory disorder. A body harness attached to the rear waist extends upward over the shoulders, keeping the hands weightless and extended out in front of the body. The design for a body harness illustrates the potential risks and flaws of an emergent form of gestural user interface that is currently only presented as a sexy, flawless, and futuristic technology for the creative workforce. Bringing Workspace back down to reality, I developed an urban matchmaking service. The mobile app connects users to a carefully architected network of makeshift and cooperative workspaces. It can be difficult locating and adapting to workspaces outside of the office and the home, that feeling of displacement. Workspace understands that everyone has their own unique needs. We're also the middleman, collecting perishable inventory from local cooperative spaces and selling them to our freelancers at a discount up to 5 times per month. As I said before, there are upwards of 53 million freelancers, and I chose to focus on the independent contractors who work on a project-to-project basis, as well as the moonlighters, such as myself, who hold a traditional job or go to class during the day and work at night and in the evenings. It works like this. Rather than providing results based on what people want, the mobile app allows users to locate workspaces based on what they don't want. We analyze workspaces in terms of distractions, lighting, sound, and comfort, to name a few, in order to help prevent unwanted interruptions. So for this, I might choose the notifications on my phone to be turned off, as well as a place that does not have Wi-Fi connection. Upon selecting your choices, the app loads, and you're presented with a list of options nearby. Upon selection of Elizabeth Street Gardens, you're presented with a short summary of the space. Further inquiry loads a more detailed analysis of the chosen space, such as its availability, natural lighting, lack of available Wi-Fi, and seating, as well as recent user-generated photos. Loading a co-working space is a feature available for Prime users. Instead of paying full price for a permanent desk space, Workspace users have the option to experience Prime workspaces at a fraction of the price. Next steps for Workspace include my transition into a full-time job. After, I think I'm in 18th grade now. A summer of hopeful travels, possibly Colorado, and exploration of these Workspaces and other locations outside of Manhattan, as well as I kind of have my heart set on Hong Kong eventually. If you like or saw what you heard, or if you hate what you saw or you heard, you can reach out here. My Twitter handle is LNCGRN. And that's also if you want to hire me. And I would personally like to thank Alan. You're amazing. I think we all took bets on you and you took bets on us. They all turned out amazing. I would like to thank Gabrielle, you my baby Bubba. And I'm going to miss you all a lot, as well as Marco and Alicia. Marco, you've never let me down. I was thinking about that on the way here, and you're always up for working even late past hours. I would also like to thank, I got a list here. Mom, Dad, sister, Paul, Beth, and Brandy, my aunt and uncle, who are all sitting here. They all came here from Texas. And I will leave you with this quote. Workspace begins with the self, and it's a mean of adapting to the spaces around us. As Rilke so eloquently wrote in his book, and I can't talk now, Letters to a Young Poet, what is necessary after all is only this, solitude, vast inner solitude. To walk inside yourself and meet no one for hours, that is what you must be able to attain. Thank you.
So Lance, where do you work best? What's your best gray space?
I actually have multiple gray spaces. I have one in Upper East Side, the library at Marymount School of New York, which is where I currently do freelance. It faces the Met, and I feel I am very lucky to be able to have that space, and I hate to be leaving it, hopefully soon. And then also rooftops in Lower East Side. I used to always break into buildings and get up to the roof to go read.
There is some irony about sharing these things and like wrecking them in the process. But I like the generous spirit, and I really love this idea of the the overstock, and then building in the discount into the platform. I think that's kind of brilliant. So I've done some work in this area. There was a fellow student of mine when I did a graduate program in design in 1986, Dan Chelsea, who said he was working in the field of workspace design. Said this to you before. He said that if you give people something interesting to do and a window, they will sit on a pile of bricks. It actually doesn't matter where they are. The nature of the work actually matters. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that in terms of the nurturing of the environment and the nurturing of the work. It's probably not in your control to be able to nurture the work, right? But how could a designer actually impact that kind of half of it now that you've been in this space, pardon the pun, for a long time now?
Well, I think there are multiple types of work that can be done remotely. I myself and my classmates have had projects where we won't come to the studio for a few days and then we'll find ourselves in the VFL working. So there are types of work that are entirely mobile, and there are types of work that you need to do alone and types of work that it's nice to build off the energy of those around you. I think it's entirely dependent on the type of work that you're doing at that time. But
I like that, so that if you can actually have some clarity about the kind of work that you're doing, there may be some sort of equation, and it might be subjective or personal, of where you should be doing it. I like third spaces, this idea of alone together. You talk about it in your quote of Grand Central. I would ask you what's next, but you have told us what's next. And apparently he's very available. Meet him after at the end of the day, yes?
yeah.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Okay.